And it says, Avraham sat at the opening of the Ohel. And what does that mean? Why would we say that Avraham was sitting? Why would we want to specify that? It's because coming off the bris milah, he was going to stand for Hashem, but Hashem told him to sit down. So I'm assuming that's why nobody stood here for me, because you're all ailing a bris milah. So, back into the Parsha. There are a lot of things we can learn from Avraham. He's an amazing, amazing person. You know, Hachnasas Orchim. We all know his amazing feats of Hachnasas Orchim, that he ran towards the strangers, like in the heat of the day. But from the Orchim we learn, it says Vayochlu. When Avraham prepared them food and Sarah prepared food, Avraham prepared food and gave it to them. And even though there were angels, it still says Vayochlu. They ate. Angels don't eat. It only appeared as though the angels ate, out of respect for Avraham. From here we learn that you don't deviate from the minhag of the household. You have respect for the greater organization of the things around you, and you want to keep shalom bayis. That's really ultimate here. And then later, so we all know that Sarah laughs. She says, "Achorei belosi haisali edna vadoni zaken." It says, and my husband is old, vadoni zaken. That might cause some problems in the house. So later, when Hashem says to Avram, he says, "This is what your wife said to me." He says, "Ha'af umnam eled va'ani zakanti." He changes the words ta'af va'ani zakanti, though I have aged. So what you want to learn here is that also to preserve shalom bayis, sometimes you have to change around the words, like maybe a little lie, but it's okay. So going into this, there's an amazing story about the Lubavitcher Rebbi. So you have this man. We're not going to mention a name, but there's a man. He can be any one of us. He's having trouble with life. He says, you know, I have doubts about my soul. I don't know what the future is about. I don't know what people think about me. So he doesn't know what to do anymore. He's not necessarily a spiritual man. He's never really had a spiritual awakening in his life. So what do? Like, you go to the Lubavitcher Rebbe's. You know, you may not know anything about Judaism, but this guy, he knows it all. He's got it. So he goes to 770 where the Lubavitcher Rebbe learned, where all his Chassidim were. He sees a huge line, all walks of life as the Rebbe took them. He starts to lose faith. You know, what am I doing here? Why am I here? But eventually he comes back. He says, "What else have I got to lose?" So he's waiting online again. Wonders, why am I here? Why am I doing this? But you know, he says, "This is my value of life. I have to do this." So he finally gets to the Rebbe. He starts rattling off all his problems. He says, "You know, I'm having trouble with money. I don't know what people think about me." And he's going to continue, but the Rebbe stops him right there and says, "Write down all of your problems on a piece of paper and come back to me." So he's so struck. The Rebbe just spoke to him. He's struck. He has no idea what to say. You don't answer the Rebbe like that. So he just gets pushed along. He gets pushed outside. He doesn't know what to do. He goes home. He decides he's gonna continue with his sad life, what he feels empty about. And eventually, day after day, it became the same thing. He didn't know what to do with himself. He had all these questions. And eventually, as a last resort, things got really bad. He finally got his thoughts together. Remember what the Rebbe said to him. He got his thoughts together, put it on a piece of paper, wrote down all his problems, and these problems, I have trouble with money, I'm uncertain about my future, I don't know what the afterlife is, I don't know what people think about me. Anything you can think of, this guy has it. He's got all the problems. So he goes back to the Rebbe, he waits online, same story here. He's hopeful, he loses hope, he's hopeful, he loses hope. Finally, he gets to the Rebbe. He doesn't even know if the Rebbe remembers him. There was some time ago, and the Rebbe meets so many people, he just hands him the piece of paper, doesn't know what to say. The Rebbe looks at it, scribbles some marks, folds it up, and hands it back to him. Again, this guy is struck, doesn't know what to do. He gets pushed outside. Finally, he makes his way outside, opens up the paper, and he notices that the first letter of every one of his problems is circled. Every problem of, I don't know what people think about me, I'm having trouble with money, I don't know about the afterlife. Every sentence began with I. So what we learn from this guy and the Rebbe, and the consideration of respecting the greater organization of the Malachim, that the Malachim did, and preserving Shalom Bayis like Hashem did with Avraham and Sarah, You have to work on the relationships with other people, work on shalom bayis, work on relationships with your friends, your parents, work on making others happy, and eventually all the eye problems will wither away. And that's what the Lubavitcher Rebbi was trying to teach. Have a good Shabbos. May everyone be zoched to have all their eye problems wither away, and we should all care as much as we can about other people.